With Directive 8020, we're pushing much more towards kind of survival horror, action adventure. We're not losing what we are, we're going to carry our fans along with us, but it is a much bigger kind of genre to enter.
Thank you very much for taking the time to chat today. We've just seen the kind of first look that we've had at the gameplay of Directive 8020, which is great because it's written on your shirt. I was like, oh no, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, and they're written right there. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about kind of the context for you guys coming into this game. Obviously, you've come off the back of season 1 of Dark Pictures. What are some of the learnings you've taken, things you wanted to kind of level up from season 1?
Absolutely. So from season 1, the kind of the big new thing that we're putting into this game is much more agency for the player. It's moving much more towards sort of survival horror with more on the sticks gameplay. So we're introducing real-time threats, so monsters that will kind of hunt you down, spot you, chase after you, and kill you if they catch you. So that's led to a kind of a redesign of the character movement systems and a whole load of the way the game plays. It is still very much a Dark Pictures game though. It's still got all the stuff that you love from the previous games, all the kind of branching storylines, character dynamics and so forth. But it has more threat when you're kind of moving around. And that just makes it scarier. That's the reason we did it, is when you're in control of your character and there's a monster creeping around, it makes you hunch up and really, really get into it.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned the monster there. What were some of the inspirations and some of the goals when you're kind of designing kind of your entry into the pantheon of great kind of space monster villains? How do you kind of go about making your own one?
Sure. So we took inspiration from John Carpenter's The Thing. Our creature can morph its body to assume any one of your crew. It can behave like you, but when the game's up, it turns into a sort of hunter-killer form, which is just trying to rip you to pieces. But we always find that, when you reveal a monster, every time you see it thereafter, its fear diminishes a little bit. So we changed the look of our creature quite a lot, and I can't talk too much about that, but there's more than one visual type of monster in this game, and you will have quite a few surprises as you play through it.
Awesome. And I was wondering if you had any particular gameplay tips going into this one. I know part of the fun is you probably will lose some characters along the way, especially on your first go, but are there anything that people should be looking out for or having in mind when they go into it?
Absolutely. I would use your tools. So we're giving the player, each character has got a number of different tools which are based off this kind of like wrist-mounted utility strap. And they allow you to kind of use remote controls to activate systems at a distance. You can check for kind of electronics to hack with a scanner. And all of those tools can kind of come together to aid you when your life is threatened. So keep an eye on it, because they're not, in some cases it's optional. There's many different ways to get through each encounter. And if you keep good use on your tools, you might have a better chance of survival.
That sounds like exactly the kind of thing that I will completely forget. Like when you're in the moment and you get like you're scared of something, you almost forget what tools you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do prompt them, we teach them in a good way, but yeah, that's kind of it. It's like when you're being hunted, when you start to sweat, sometimes plans go out the window. So.
And can you say anything about the title? What is Directive 8020 in this?
So Directive 8020 is actually referring to what was a real NASA directive, which was if astronauts out in space were to encounter extraterrestrial life, they had to, according to this directive, go through a quarantine procedure. So it's a real life thing, but it is actually part of our game's story. I can't reveal exactly how, but you can kind of imagine there is a sort of a decision that needs to be made by the crew.
That's cool. I didn't realise it was based on a real thing.
Yeah, all of our games have some connection to the real world in some way. We love kind of grounding it in some sort of truth. So yeah, there's a connection in the name. There's also, we looked at the Apollo program and how that was structured, and there were certain really interesting things about that program, like, for example, I think it was one of them, Apollo 9, Apollo 10, was short fueled so that its crew couldn't actually land, so they didn't have enough fuel to carry out that.
Nice. And you don't have to get NASA's permission to call it Directive.
No, I don't think it actually. I think they've changed it now because we were looking for it, and now it's really difficult to find. But also then, since we've announced this game, that's all you find when you search for it. So good luck finding it.
I was wondering as well about, you've got Lashana Lynch, is an amazing actor of film and TV, being your kind of like headline star this time out. What was the process like of getting her involved, and what was she like to work with?
First off, we were really, really, really lucky to have her on board. She's a big name actor, and when the process we go through is initially we create a character, and we don't have an actor in mind necessarily, because we have 5 controllable characters, and in the design process of our games, we always kind of create a story around these characters, and then we think, well, which one would be best for a recognisable face, and Young kind of came up as having a really interesting storyline. So once we'd established that, we go through kind of Hollywood casting agencies, and our casting agent brilliantly got us Lashana, and she was absolutely amazing. I think when you play it, you'll see that she absolutely smashed the performance. She's a joy to work with. Yeah, really, really good.
Nice. I imagine, like, now that you've got so many examples of previous Supermassive games, you can go, hey, look, these people have done it before.
Yeah, totally. And we've always been kind of lucky with people that we've used before. And we've had great casting agents, so it's not completely luck, but people like Rami Malek, his star was on the rise when we had him in Until Dawn, and then he went Nova, so there's, we're always lucky. I think with Lashana, she's already, very successful, and she's in tons of movies now. So, we're really, really happy to have her on board.
Nice. And the graphics are at a point now where her likeness is just so unmistakably.
Absolutely, yeah. And the technology moves on all the time. So, we can really capture her performance in this. She looks great.
You mentioned Until Dawn there. Obviously that has, speaking of Hollywood casting, the kind of casting for the film version of that has been announced fairly recently. What's the feeling like at Supermassive at the moment? I don't know how involved you guys are in it, but
we're not involved in it, but of course, Until Dawn's kind of like our baby for a load of people in the studio, so we're really excited to see what's cooking there. Great. I think everyone's kind of stoked that it's coming out.
Yeah, I do love that whole circle of life thing of like, make a game inspired by horror movies and eventually they make a horror.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fantastic.
That is cool. And I'm going to forget the guy's name, but one of the actors from the game is in the film as well, right?
Right, I'm not up to date.
Yeah, one of them is like the professor character or something like that.
Oh yeah, Peter Stormer.
Yeah, he's in it.
Brilliant, cool.
So that's cool. I was wondering as well about if you could say anything about the sad passing recently of Tony Pankhurst, the face of the curator. I think another person instantly recognisable when you see a picture of him. Oh, it's a curator. It must have been really, really sad for all you guys.
It's really sad, and our kind of thoughts go out to his family most of all, and his friends. Really, really sad. He was a joy to work with, and it's obviously it kind of makes you think, but we continue on.
Yeah, and. I don't suppose you can say about the future involvement of the curator or anything
So the curator himself is, as you'll know, he's a mysterious character, and for today we have to be mysterious ourselves about him. But more news, is coming. Watch this space. We'll talk about the curator more in future.
Nice. And I was also wondering about, you mentioned in the presentation earlier about how this kind of leap forward that you've taken with Directive 8020 kind of represents a new path forward for Supermassive and for the Dark Pictures. Can you kind of extrapolate on that a tiny bit maybe and say, what does kind of this transition into that more kind of action-y feel? Is that what you think you'll carry forward with, or is it different kind of genres and feels for different games maybe?
As a studio, like if you look back through our history, we've always been kind of on the edge of new technology. We've always been experimenting with different types of games, and we've had a lot of success. We've had a lot of commercial success, and our games are getting bigger. So the kind of quality bar we feel is going up quite dramatically, and this allows us to look into new genres. And so with Directive 8020, we're pushing much more towards kind of survival horror, action adventure. We're not losing what we are. We're going to carry our fans along with us, but it is a much bigger kind of genre to enter, and I think it makes people stand up and notice more.
Nice. And is it a bigger game in terms of like size and scope and length as well?
We're not actually sure at the moment. At the moment, it's about the same as our last game in terms of duration, but we go through a really big editing process where we're moving the story around, trying to get it right, and we do a load of playtesting. And what we're finding is that with the new kind of threat and exploration stealth sections, players are much more kind of on edge as they play it. They play it in a more kind of tense way, and that does push the gameplay out in a way that's difficult for us to track because we play it in a different way. so yeah, the testing is really, really useful. We'll have a clearer idea in the coming weeks and months.
Nice. And with all that playtesting, you must be able to see things like what's the average number of characters that people have alive at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we're really interested in testing at the moment. At the moment, we did a test recently, and there were a lot of full wipeouts. But that's what testing does. You can't judge it on that. That's testing. We have to tweak and adjust stuff. But it's interesting. We've got we still have all the ways of dying in this game based on choices that you've made previously, based on the kind of character dynamics, can still lead to lethal situations. We have big dilemmas. And then now on top of that, we also have the kind of on the sticks death as well. So yeah, death all round.
Yeah, like in the gameplay you were showing us, you could have just got caught in that action.
Yeah, at any of those moments you could have got caught, and because in that particular instance, the creature can kind of move through the grove and pop up in different places. It adds a kind of random element to each encounter. So your character, you're not going to die just there on that corner. You'll die all over the place.
Nice. And one thing that might be fun to finish on is, you mentioned a few of them earlier, but say people want to get in the mood for this game in the build up to release, would you have like a watch list of films you'd recommend to get you in the mood?
Loads, yeah. So I'd say definitely The Thing, Aliens, Solaris, Life, tons of them. Loads. Yeah, we watch
Event Horizon was on there as well.
Event Horizon, yeah. What else? Pandorum is a weird one, but worth watching. Yeah, there's little nods to that in here.
So have you guys had a chance to go see the new Alien yet?
I have not, and I'm really annoyed about it. So I want to see it when I get back.
Same.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, got that to look forward to. Got the game to look forward to. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Great, pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I did everything right.